PhD student also. I've been teaching English in a high school for 5 years. I'm also doing at the same time PhD, writing a PhD dissertation on the beats and Moroccan writers, so trying to look at the culture and counter. And I'm also translating, basically focusing now on the postmodern, like the second half of the 20th century American poetry, everything revolutionary, countercultural. So I'm putting together an anthology. And if you go online, you will find my translation of America, Allen Ginsberg's poem, published by his trust agent Peter Hale on Allen Ginsberg online project. I've been there, a month and 2 weeks now. I visited Ginsberg's apartment. I've read with Bob Hallman at the Bower Poetry Club. I went to different places in New Jersey, like Patterson High School, Ginsberg's High School, Newark, Carlos Williams and other people. And I also had reading at Palmer Museum of Arts at Altoona in Pennsylvania, at the University of Pennsylvania, with an African, two African poets and writers, professors there. And I took a bus from Altoona to Boulder, a day and 15 hours. And because I've been also awarded the scholarship, Amy Grunberg scholarship by Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied Poetics, where I've been the guest of Anne Waldman's ex-husband, Rick Body, and so I met Thurston Moore. We read poetry together and we played. I didn't know he was famous until the next morning. He said, I've been playing with Sonic Youth and I've been since there in the 80s. And I said, sorry, I stopped listening to everything starting from the 80s. I listen to everything from the 20s to the 70s. I don't listen to disco music. So he said, it's not disco, it's something different. I said, okay, I'll have a look at that. Anyways, so yeah, I've read, the day I got to Boulder, I read with Anne Waldman and Ambrose improvised on a piano. And I've read my translations of Ginsberg in Arabic to a totally English-speaking audience. So that was something good. I also had another reading at Shambhala Mountain Center in the Rockies, and from there to Portland and to Seattle, and then North Cascades, Desolation Peak, Kerouac, all the people, and then to Michael here. And I'm very grateful and thankful for having given me the opportunity of being here and reading to some of my poems. So I will be reading some of my old poems, which are all of them published in different reviews, magazines. You can find them online. And some of them are very politically conscious of what's going on in my country, in our world, in different places all over the world. And yeah, I would start by reading this poem, which is called Nothing Remains the Same. I wrote this, I went hitchhiking in Turkey, to all the way from Istanbul to Georgia and other places. And when the progress started in Istanbul, I started thinking about my experience there. And I wrote this poem, which is called Nothing Remains the Same. Nothing remains the same. Where could you be tonight, Sinatra? Love and marriage, love and marriage. Like a horse and carriage, they go together. A chant I heard reverberate as far away as the length of the waves I rode and disposed when I was bound to a remote island called Buyukada. The permanent content of what you mean transcends me the moment I kiss your lips, and I know that meaning is produced only in an unexpectedly rambunctious union. Succinctly, I dissect everything, looking for generic turns I lifts back somewhere in Kadikoy at 9 o'clock sharp near the theater, where I heard the beautiful young voice lamenting Istanbul in operatic tempos. Dinli beni biraz şişt, sinsin İstanbul sibirsini sinbin sibirsi. Dinli beni biraz şişt, sinsin İstanbul dübirsin, sinsin beni yübüzürsin. Barbarossa Hero Din Pasha, Fatih Sultan Mehmet, Jalaluddin Rumi, all proceeded towards Istanbul again. Alas, nothing remains the same. Everything is only revisited once again, even the empty sunflower fields of Kütahya. Detach yourself, postmodern Kerouac, from the vicissitudes of a stuporous life, where nothing transcends the ephemeral. I know that I will meet a deadline just because life manifests itself unintentionally in those experiences I weave. I thought my days could end on a ship to Prince's Island bound. Alas, a Russian girl took me aside to recount her Icelandic memories to a dismembered Moorish heart. Then I'll read another poem which is about the situation. I got lost, with all the fights, with all the fusses, fights in Egypt and all over the board, Muslims, Christians, Copts, whatever. And I started thinking about the situation there. I started thinking about the importance of religion. How does it maybe lead to all these kind of problems? And I wrote this poem called In Mannequin Dualisms. In mannequin dualisms? Dualisms. In light and dark, in distant and stark, in evil and good, in civil and rude, in pagans and believers, I do not believe anymore. These are mere mythical expressions of a reality beyond you and me, endued with ethical intentions, perpetuated in quasi-ontological premises, mosques, churches, synagogues, temples. It is hard to fathom what it means to hold an ethnic distance, to sustain a racial difference, to carry an identity burden, to nurture religious strife. We have had enough already of such empty promises, of situational solutions, of improvised closures distilled from our last blood drops. Let us just strive in our own hive as busy, wandering bees, not as any quiet Americans relishing in fleas of ashes and diamonds. We still need to travel the longest journey to the promised lands of the outsiders, where no angels ever dare to tread, to elect our last prime ministers of freely administered death. Another poem is written about the importance of the vote. We're thinking about, do they really take into consideration what we, our, voices, what we do, And I wrote this poem which is called, We Are All Numbers in Their Statistics. After all, we are all numbers in their improvised statistics. Why should we bother? Winter bitterness, our spring, winter bitterness gains momentum. A blind, lame, syncopated, retorted. Numbers can be used to numb people's senses. Numbers can be used to reduce or raise people's consciousness of what slips memory, as in census of deer in lush dismembered forests of Cascadia or Saskatchewan. Even in the order of things, as Foucault once suggested, there should be numbers, since they easily allow preventive disqualification of dissenting voices, simulated authenticity of political malefactors, logical oversimplifications of battle casualties, irrelevant equations of electoral promises. Above all, numbers can be used for humane subtraction in dreadful times of distress, spent in dark corners of silence, wishing for a perennial happiness. Okay, I will read a poem which has been inspired by my reading of Marcel Proust, À la recherche du temps perdu, In Search for Lost Time. So I was just thinking about it and I wrote this poem. It's called